Real Estate Exam Questions with Answers and Explanations, Part Number 10. Which of the following is not a major difference between a mortgage and a trust deed? A. Number of parties involved. B. Foreclosure process. C. Document used to transfer title. D. Use of a promissory note. Correct answer, D. Use of a promissory note. Both mortgages and trust deeds use a promissory note as the borrower's promise to repay the loan. The difference lies in the number of parties and how foreclosure is handled. For example, both mortgage and deed of trust loans require the borrower to sign a promissory note. This means the repayment obligation is the same regardless of the document type. In a condominium development, who is responsible for electing the board of directors? A. Property manager. B. Developer only. C. Unit owners. D. HOA appointed committee. Correct answer, C. Unit owners. The condominium's board of directors is elected by the owners of the individual units, typically at an annual meeting. For example, all condo owners voted to elect the new board members. This implies ownership gives them voting power. What type of legal land description system relies on recorded subdivision maps? A. Boundary and compass system. B. Government survey system. C. Lot and block. D. Township and range. Correct answer, C. Lot and block. The lot and block system uses recorded plat maps, subdivision maps, to describe property locations. For example, the land was identified as Lot 4, Block B on the county's plat map. This shows the use of the lot and block system. What term describes state-specific laws that cap the maximum interest rate lenders can charge? A. Predatory lending laws. B. Usury laws. C. Rate cap legislation. D. Equal credit rules. Correct answer, B. Usury laws. Usury laws are designed to prevent lenders from charging excessively high or unreasonable interest rates. For example, the lender couldn't charge more than 10% due to the state's usury laws. This means interest rate limits are enforced legally. What is it called when an agent only shows homes in neighborhoods based on the client's ethnicity? A. Steering. B. Blockbusting. C. Redlining. D. Sheltering. Correct answer, A. Steering. Steering is an illegal practice where agents guide clients toward or away from areas based on protected characteristics like race or ethnicity. For example, the agent was fined for steering buyers to specific neighborhoods based on race. This means the agent violated fair housing laws. How does a lease option differ from a lease purchase agreement? A. A lease option requires purchase at the end of lease. B. A lease purchase offers no choice but to buy. C. A lease option locks in the purchase date. D. A lease purchase is only valid in certain states. Correct answer, B. A lease purchase offers no choice but to buy. A lease option gives the tenant the option to buy, but a lease purchase legally obligates them to purchase at the end of the lease. For example, under the lease purchase agreement, the tenant had to buy the home after 12 months. This means there was no choice at the end of the lease term. What best describes the term market value in real estate? A. Price based on property tax value. B. Price set by the owner. C. Most probable price a property would sell for in an open market. D. Highest possible price. Correct answer, C. Most probable price a property would sell for in an open market. Market value is what a well-informed buyer would reasonably pay, and a seller would accept, under normal conditions. For example, the appraiser estimated the market value based on recent comparable sales. This implies a fair price in today's market. Which of the following is not typically considered an appurtenance? A. Mineral rights. B. Easements. C. Fixtures. D. Furniture. Correct answer, D. Furniture. Appurtenances are items or rights attached to the land, such as easements, but furniture is personal property and not automatically included. For example, the easement allowing access across a neighbor's land is an appurtenance. This indicates it is tied to the property ownership. What happens to a person's property if they die intestate, without a will, and no known heirs? A. The estate is donated. B. It becomes government-owned through a escheat. C. It goes to probate for public sale. D. It is kept by the nursing home. Correct answer, B. It becomes government-owned through a escheat. If a person dies with no will and no heirs, their property escheats to the state. For example, the state took ownership of the land through a escheat after no relatives were found. This means the government claimed the property legally. If someone receives a deed saying subject to the existing loan, what is the buyer's relationship to that loan? A. The buyer assumes full responsibility for the loan. B. The loan is automatically paid off by the seller. C. The buyer takes ownership without being liable for the loan. D. The buyer must refinance the loan. Correct answer, C. The buyer takes ownership without being liable for the loan. Subject to means the buyer agrees the loan will stay in place but is not personally liable for repaying it. For example, he bought the home subject to the seller's mortgage and continued making payments without being on the loan. This means the loan remains but the buyer isn't personally responsible.